Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Friday, the 1st of December 2023. I'm Adam Lang. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1. It was, unfortunately, a miserable rather than merry start to December. The S&P ASX 200 closed down 0.2% to 7,073 points. It was red across most sectors, and the worst performers over the day were information technology, consumer staples and consumer discretionary. Among the top falls were Nanosonics down 5.1%, Bega Cheese down 4.1%, and Harvey Norman down 3.8%. The electronics retailer had a painful executive pay strike earlier this week, following a nearly 8% drop in sales over the last 5 months. Metals and mining, industrials and resources were among the best of the bunch, but they were pretty flat. Paladin Energy was up 6.2%. Some of the top performers were tech services business Iris, up 4.7%, and Neuron Pharmaceuticals Limited, up 3.8%, on the back of solid sales of some of its neurological disorder treatments. Sayona Mining fell 6.1%. Story number 2, the Council on Federal Financial Relations meeting between Treasurer Jim Chalmers and his state and territory counterparts was a tricky one ahead of the National Cabinet next week. The states have been pushing to make the $5 billion GST top-up a permanent feature at a minimum. Now, this top-up is due to end in 2026-2027, and without an increase, the states have threatened to push back at Anthony Albanese's plans for them to take on more of the responsibility for treating early developmental disorders and autism as National Disability Insurance Schemes costs surge. Chalmers said he recognised there was pressure on state and territory budgets, but noted they needed to understand the Commonwealth was under pressure too. The states say they'll need to introduce new taxes and levies and charges, and they'll tell the public that that is the fault of the federal government if they don't get more from the GST deal. Story number 3, headlines about CEO relationships are usually about a lack of disclosure, but this one is a little different. It's actually about the formal corporate approval bestowed on BHP CEO Mike Henry to have a relationship with Canadian National Railway CEO Tracy Robinson. He needed the blessing of his directors because the Canadian business is building a railway to the mining giant's potash mine, and it's no small project. The mine itself is in Jansen, and the first stage was worth just under US $6 billion. Canadian National became the preferred haulage business in July this year. The disclosure of the relationship, as revealed in the Financial Review, has allowed the business to take steps to avoid a conflict of interest. Story number 4. The Centre for Women's Economic Safety wants mortgage and lending reforms to better protect those who have faced post-separation economic abuse from their former partners. The Centre has an advisory panel of those who have experienced an abusive partner and found that 84% were still facing financial and economic abuse post-separation, with more than 9 out of 10 left paying shared financial responsibilities or stuck with their ex's debt. The group notes that this economic abuse can take many forms, including refusing to make payments towards things like mortgages and child support, as well as hiding assets and even racking up more costs and debt. In particular, they're concerned about the fact that banks right now can pursue one party fully for a joint mortgage. They want banks, regulators and the government to come up with solutions, including redesigning joint loans in the first place to make it harder for perpetrators to utilise them as a form of abuse. And story number 5, has the cash rate finally peaked? That's what 54% of economists on Finder's expert panel think, and even more of them, and that's above 80%, think they'll be at least on hold at the final RBA meeting next week. If they're right, it could mean that rates stay at 4.35% on Tuesday. We then won't see the Reserve Bank meet again until February. Predictions can, of course, turn out wrong, as the RBA knows only too well, but with softer inflation and retail sales data this week, it's looking a bit more likely. Complicating the outlook, Solomon Lew's Premier Investments reckons it just had a record Black Friday. The business owns big brands like Just Jeans, Smiggle and Peter Alexander. Premier's share price was up 2.8%. Finder, though, is saying consumers are struggling to meet their mortgage repayments, and more than half say they'll be swiping their credit card more this year to afford the festive season. Credit card spending hit an all-time high in September. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 1st of December 2023. Sean Aylmer, Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with a weekend edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Adam Lang. Enjoy your evening.